Welcome to Haunt Weekly.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Crystal.
And this is Haunt Weekly, a weekly podcast for the haunted attraction and entertainment community. Whether you're an actor, owner, or just plain aficionado, we aim to be a podcast for you. And today, I think we may have peaked. We may have achieved singularity.
Yeah, we definitely created a black hole on our Facebook page.
Everything, we created a black hole because now everything else we've done sucks. It's just all sucking. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
It's all being sucked into this episode. And I do not say that before every episode because we have brought together pretty much every passion that exists in this house into one news story.
Yeah.
That we get to dive into today, and that is the CFX AEW lawsuit. We come at this as people who are passionate about copyright issues, as people who are passionate about the haunted attraction industry, CFX, which CFX is a major player, and wrestling fans.
Yes.
Because we're passionate about AEW, and it's all happening in New Orleans.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I posted a meme on Haunt Weekly. I don't do that as much as I probably should, but definitely go check it out. We're at facebook.com/hauntweekly, twitter.com/hauntweekly, youtube.com/hauntweekly is the YouTube channel. Find us wherever you get your podcasts from, because I don't know what to tell you, man. if this episode isn't like in our wheelhouse, we don't have a wheelhouse.
Yeah, that is very true.
We just tear it all down. We're fucking done. It's over. This is literally everything to us. So let's get through the housekeeping stuff and the intro stuff first. And to start with, we have the question of the week.
Yes.
And we're going to do it a little different this week. Because last week we asked the question of the week, who's going to Transworld?
Yeah.
And I know it's last minute because we kind of found out we were going last minute. And basically, there were a lot of people who were going.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people who were sad they couldn't go, including some people that this is their first year missing.
Yeah.
And are upset, or reasonably upset, because the first year we get to go is the year they can't go.
And these are people that, we're friends with, and we're sad that they're not going to be there, Yeah,
I mean, and I get it, because, I was confused, too, when I saw that it moved to February.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's usually in March.
Right.
And, for us, the March date is terrible for a lot of reasons. But February is a little better.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we were able to go, and we talked about our circumstances for going in previous episodes.
Yeah.
So we're not calling out anyone specific. Just we have been making notes of who said they will be there. How's that?
Yes. Yes, we have. And so if you are going to be there, we will be...
Okay. She's looking up something.
I'm trying to figure out which booth we're going to be at. We're going to be at the Conjured Media booth. We know that much. Load.
But we're Wi-Fi is shit today.
Apparently so.
Yeah. But we will be at Conjured Media booth, or I'd probably be there less.
Yeah.
But
I will be there more often.
Yeah.
And I can't find it immediately.
So look for us at the Conjured Media booth on the Transworld floor. Crystal will definitely be there. I'll probably be doing more wandering around.
Yes, and if you have told me that you were coming, you may or may not have something in the works.
Yeah, like I said, a lot of this is coming together ultra last minute.
Yeah.
And they just had the booth. You just had it. Booth 1719.
Okay. I thought it started with 17, but my brain likes to flip numbers backwards. Yeah. So it's like...
Well, you're not as bad as my dad, who likes to put negatives in front of random numbers and completely fuck up equations.
That's fun.
So anyways, if you commented saying you were going... we may have something for you. We will see. If you have not commented saying that you're going and you are going, please let us know now, ASAP.
Yes.
Once again, hauntweekly.com, hauntweekly at Twitter, hauntweekly on Facebook, and youtube.com/hauntweekly. Let us know. But yeah, not going to do specific answers because yay, we're going is not necessarily the most exciting answer. But, I have a question this week.
Yes.
Whether you're going or not going, doesn't matter. What part of Trans World are you or would you be the most excited for?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that's a good question.
It is.
And the answer for me right now is it's kind of a two-part answer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, directly what am I most excited for is all the people we're going to get to see there that we know and have been friends with. And some of them we've been friends with and, been in their circle for a while.
Yeah.
Never been in the same physical space with them.
Exactly.
So that is really exciting. But if I had to pick the conference, I am really excited about all of the mask makers on the trade show floor.
Yeah, that's going to be fun.
Because they were always my favorite at like HauntCon and so forth, and this is going to be a big convergence of them. So places like CFX, Shattered Effects, companies we're going to be talking about extensively today, I think are going to be what I'm most interested in, because I do really love the artistry of mask making. And this goes back way before this lawsuit, I promise you.
Yeah.
I've just been broke and haven't been able to buy those masks.
Right.
Now we have a high quality upper tier one coming. And so stay tuned for that in like March. We're going to have a lot more on that later.
Yeah.
That'll be well after Transworld stuff. But yeah, so what would you or are you most excited about Transworld? Do you have any thoughts?
Mine's meeting all the people.
Okay.
And just like seeing a conference that I really don't think there would be another way as homeowners for us to see it.
And the thing is, like, we could go to Transworld fairly easily. We do have a business LLC.
Yeah.
We can go. We can get in. But the thing about it for us is we've never prioritized it because we are homeowners.
Yeah.
And it just didn't seem like our scene or our jam. And so going to it is kind of a thing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, moving on. Next up, we have conference reminders, interestingly enough. So, Crystal, why don't you kick us off?
Well, obviously, the first one is Transworld.
Oh, really? I had no idea.
Halloween and attraction show.
That's coming? Jesus Christ, it snuck up on me.
Yeah, it's co-located with their Christmas show.
Oh! Woo.
It'll be February 2nd through the 5th in St. Louis, Missouri. At the America Center. Features a pre-show bus tour, party at City Museum. Also, HAASHOW.com for more info.
All right. After that, March 24th through the 26th, it's Fear Expo Live in Owensboro, Kentucky at the Owensboro Convention Center. There's free admission, but it is not open to the public. Once again, requires a business LLC and some additional steps. They are partnered with HauntCon. If you're missing your HauntCon talks, this is where they are now. You can find out more at fearexpolive.com.
All right, then, Spooky Swap Meet is going to be April 29th and April 30th in Los Angeles, California at the Heritage Square Museum. A great place to pick up those gently loved items.
Yes, indeed.
Including costumes and decor, created by the co-founders of Midsummer Scream, SpookySwapMeet.com.
And finally this week, the Southeast Hollows Haunt Convention is May 5th through the 7th in Savannah, Georgia at the Savannah Convention Center. Early bird tickets are available between now and March 31st, so why don't you go pick those up at SEHHC, SEC is the only pronunciation I can come up with for that, .com. Check them out, yeah, especially if you're in the Southeast area. Getting kind of tired of all this Midwest privilege in these conferences, aren't we?
Yeah.
You got to have something to do out there. All right. So, work we did on our Hot Nun, we can just skip right past that.
Yeah.
We've been super focused on Transworld, and we're leaving actually tomorrow. We're recording this on Sunday. I'm going to have it up on Monday. But by the time you hear this, we'll likely be on the road.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of prep work to do. We got stuff to do Wednesday. And we're driving there, and it's a 10-hour drive for us.
Yeah. So we're going about halfway or a little less tomorrow because I'm working my day job.
Yeah.
Before heading to this. So.
Yeah, so we'll be heading out tomorrow. We're trying to stay excited, but we're not looking forward to that drive. I gotta be honest.
Yeah. Well, I just wish that I had more time that I could take off of the day job for it. Because then it'd be easier.
Yeah, we've done the drive to St. Louis many, many times. This is probably our 10th, 12th trip, something like that, to St. Louis.
More than that.
Probably more than that, yeah. Because we've been with Ellie for 9 years now.
Yeah.
And we've gone more than once a year.
Yeah.
So we know the drive very, very well. It's basically right at 55 for us.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a long drive. It is a slog. And parts of 55 are just piss-ass boring.
Exactly what I was thinking. It's just boring.
Like,
It makes it harder.
Like, okay, you get to Laplace, which were technically dead ends on the other side. The first civilization you hit, I think, is Jackson, Mississippi.
Yeah.
And I use civilization in air quotes there. Sorry, people from Jackson, but it's someone from New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So yeah, it's Jackson, it's Memphis, and then Memphis is about halfway. And from Memphis to St. Louis, you can just basically go fuck yourself because...
Oh, and I forgot. I will be giving Honors Against Hate one of my headdresses for their raffle.
Yeah.
So be sure to go check them out too.
Oh yeah, good idea. That's a good point. Yeah, we forgot about that. That also super last minute this came up.
I'm like, I have all of these I'm not selling or trying to sell right now. I should just take one and give it to them.
One of the more haunt appropriate ones, no less. I think that's kind of cool. So yeah, we've been prepping for Transworld. Not looking forward to the drive there or back. Looking forward to seeing a lot of the neat people. And seeing, for me, it's the trade show floor. It's going to be very interesting. All right. Well, that's all the news this week. Goodbye, everyone.
We are doing news.
No, we're not
well, we're covering a news article, but...
yeah, we have... A thing happened. Well, actually, it didn't happen this week is one of the frustrations.
Yeah.
The news came out this week, and I want you to picture Jonathan on Friday morning. I got up, wasn't feeling especially good that morning. We had been out late with a friend.
Yes, and you should explain that Fridays are usually your day to take it easy.
Yeah, it's kind of my day. I do my day job, but it's also when I work on the things that interest me. And sometimes I start the day a little bit late. So I got up, did my Wordle, started Quirtle.
Yeah.
Started listening to my wrestling news. And then this article came up in the wrestling news talking about CFX. I'm like, could that be the same CFX I know? And there's Luchasaurus's mask in AEW. I'm like, that sounds like my CFX.
Mm-hmm.
And then to find out it's all happening here.
Right.
In New Orleans, which makes sense. Because, I mean, I feel confident we knew CFX was based in Baton Rouge. But I feel confident I also forgot it.
Yeah, I don't know that it... like, that didn't ring any bells for me that they were that close.
It rang... like super distant ones. Like I'm pretty sure we knew it eons ago and just totally spaced on it.
Yeah.
Because that would have been nice actually to know that we could have probably gone and gotten me a fitting for a mask.
Yeah.
But neither here nor there. We'll come back to that later, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But anyways, the long and short of it is that Composite FX, aka CFX, has filed a lawsuit against All Elite Wrestling (AEW) and the performer Luchasaurus. I'm not going to use his real name because I don't give a shit about his real name. It's Luchasaurus to me, God damn it. And they filed the lawsuit in December, but for reasons unclear, the information just came out this week, like a few days ago.
Yeah, and it's crazy because nobody's been talking about
Nobody.
it.
And like I said, it seems like it was filed in mid-December. So yeah, this is a potentially huge lawsuit for the haunted attraction industry for a lot of reasons that we're going to get into. But unfortunately, it's also a surprisingly complicated case and made more complicated by other decisions which are recent that we're going to get into. So yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to cover this case pretty thoroughly in the next, I'd say, 30 minutes or so. But first we're going to explain the facts of the case based upon the complaint and the news coverage we've read. We're going to look at some basics of copyright law. Not going to go too deep into that because that's a rabbit hole that can become an entire fucking season of Haunt Weekly in a hurry.
Yeah.
And then we're going to look at the implications of the haunted attraction industry as well as potential outcomes for this case. So, yeah, this is, like I said, this is surprisingly huge. CFX is one of the biggest, best-known companies in the haunted attraction space in terms of prop and mask making.
Yeah, and I think they've been around as one of the longest too.
Yeah.
At least in the public eye.
Yeah.
So
they have a long, long history of working with the haunted attraction industry, and I'm old enough to remember SPFX.
Right.
And then they disappeared. I actually don't remember what happened to them. I'm sure someone can post it all the various Haunt Weekly links what happened to SPFX, But they just seemed to be there one day, gone the next, as far as I was concerned. And then everyone was talking about CFX, kind of as the follow-on. I don't remember what happened. I was a very young haunter in those days.
Yeah.
So, and I definitely couldn't afford SPF masks. In fact, the only time I ever got to even touch an SPFX mask was when we were working at Chamber of Horrors.
Yeah.
And basically I was allowed to look at and like stare at the mask because it was that expensive.
Like poke it.
Poke it and prod it. It was very, very weird, actually. It was very weird.
Yeah.
So let's start with the facts of the case as understood from the complaint. We're going to use the word allegedly a lot because that's the nature of these. CFX has made claims. We have not seen a response from AEW. Claims have not been proven, so we get to use the word allegedly. If we say allegedly, just do a shot.
No, they'll die.
You'll probably be dead by the end of the podcast, but... And you'll probably sue me for giving you that. You know what? Don't do that.
I bet there are drinking games out there because every episode you choose a word and it comes up like over and over. And I bet there are drinking games out there based on you.
Yeah, just find the Pee Wee Herman word of the day thing.
Exactly.
What's the word of the day, Cherry?
Yeah. Well, today we know what it's going to be. It's going to be allegedly.
Yes, it is. All right.
You're already dead.
So, CFX, as most of us probably already know, or Composite FX is their full name, is a company that you probably know. They are makers of high-quality silicone masks. They're known for basically being one of the dominant companies in this space. Even if you haven't heard of them, you've likely heard of other companies similar, like Shattered FX, Savage Silicone, Real Flesh Masks. A lot of companies out there in this space now, which as a haunter, I dig like a shallow grave.
Yeah.
Because I like that there's other companies out here in this space because that gives us a greater variety of masks and better deals in some cases. But that doesn't mean these masks are ever going to be cheap.
Right.
So, no, they're not. And All Elite Wrestling, for those that don't know, is a wrestling promotion. It's akin to WWE. And in fact, they are currently the number 2 wrestling promotion in the country. They have 2 programs, Wednesday Night Dynamite and Friday Night Rampage. That you can watch. Both are on TNT TBS. They're on the I forget which is on which now.
Yeah, it's a weird
We just set
situation.
the fucking DVR. It gets put on. It gets put on the fucking thing, right?
Yeah.
I don't pay attention to channels.
Exactly. And Luchasaurus is a performer with AEW, known for performing in a dinosaur, quote unquote, dinosaur mask.
Explaining Luchasaurus to someone that doesn't know wrestling, especially AEW, could be a whole episode unto itself. But basically, he was, for a long period of time, half of a tag team or half of a faction called Jurassic Express.
Yeah.
It was him, Jungle Boy, and for a time there, a teeny tiny little guy named Marco Stunt. But he and Jungle Boy were actually tag team champions fairly recently. So he's not a out-of-the-way, minuscule, nobody knows who this person is performer. He is someone that is maybe not their top star, may not be in the main event of the next pay-per-view, but is definitely a big name, definitely someone fans of AEW know and know well.
Right.
And you mentioned that he performs in a dinosaur mask. Well, hey, he's 7 feet tall. He's he's fucking huge.
Yes, he is.
Like, in all seriousness, if you have not ever watched AEW, I would encourage watching some Luchasaurus matches, just because he is very impressive to see a big guy move around like that. He's one of those big guys that really knows how to move and shimmy and shake and all that. But the mask he uses is a customized version of CFX's Viper the Reptile mask.
Yes.
Because in the haunt industry, we don't name things very well a lot of times. I mean, yeah, I get it. It is a reptile mask, but...
Are we going to scientists for names?
Yes, we... I think we're talking to astronomers at this point, for the love of God.
Exactly.
Yeah, the astronomers who named their biggest earthbound telescope the Really Big Telescope.
Yes.
Not making that one up. That actually is the thing. But anyways.
Well, it pulls you apart and it looks like you look like spaghetti. It's spaghettification.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and when you talk about neutron stars, you talk about the different layers of matter and the wavy shapes, they call it nuclear pasta because it's nuclear lasagna with all the different... So, yeah. Scientist, motherfucker. Astrophysicist. Anyways, that's enough astrophysicists. But the two masks look very different. I mean, if you go... Okay, real fast, before we get too deep, if you want all this stuff in written word rather than spoken word, go to my site, Plagiarism Today. You can Google it. The top article, as of this, is about this lawsuit. And it also has side-by-side photos of the two masks.
Yes.
But it's obvious the masks do look different. Luchasaurus is cut down. The CFX mask is the full head, full hood, shoulders, everything is designed to basically be a full 360 mask.
Right, and the Luchasaurus is about a quarter mask.
Yeah,
I think it's what they call
everything of the face between above the lip to the top of the head, but nothing on the back.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can see his long hair.
Yeah.
And Luchasaurus's mask is significantly cut down. It's also repainted. It doesn't match any of the color schemes CFX sells on their site, at least. I don't know who did the repainting, but it's been repainted. And Luchasaurus's mask also added rubber horns.
Yeah, well, and they do custom jobs, so they could just be from them.
It could. It really could.
It started out with that idea. And
the news coverage about it, but I've not been able to get my hands on the lawsuit yet. Mm-hmm. News coverage about it has not been very clear on that.
Yeah.
But it's not a huge point. Basically, though, if you look at the scales on the masks, you'll see very quickly that, they're the same mask, the same starting point. Excuse me, y'all. So now we get to the lawsuit's allegations, because all that is beyond dispute. You can look at all that up yourself. That's easy. According to CFX, neither AEW nor Luchasaurus purchased merchandising rights to the mask. Mm-hmm. Now, they say, while they have no issue with Luchasaurus using the mask as a performer, no issue with him being in the ring, no issue with him public appearances and whatnot, they claim AEW overstepped the license they grant. They further allege, and this is the part that's really weird to me, that AEW actually paid for a customized new mask for Luchasaurus and purchased the merchandise rights for that mask, but then never used it or rarely used it, and then went back to the original mask and never bought the merchandise rights for it. Yeah. They say, according to the lawsuit, allegedly, AEW felt the original mask was just too iconic. Yeah. CFX has a license page on their site, which covers the license that they grant. We're going to get into that a bit more as time goes on. And that page has been there since at least 2018. I didn't bother seeing how far back it went beyond that because it doesn't matter. The alleged infringing activity began in 2019, so it was up before any alleged infringing action took place.
Exactly. And the page says in part, using images of the mask being worn in a live event or experience, haunted house, is fine. That's fine. Monetizing the characters themselves is not.
And it goes on to say that a new license is required to, quote-unquote, for, quote-unquote, using our products for design images across most other forms of recorded print media or for merchandising purposes. Mm-hmm. And right now, I mean, to skip ahead a minute, AEW, as a large wrestling company, has significant merchandise. Yeah. You can go to shopaew.com right now, and you can obtain Luchasaurus t-shirts, many of which, not all of them, but many of which do feature the mask. They had, like, the COVID-style mask. Right. Featuring, actually, some of the pattern from it. And elsewhere, you can find both Luchasaurus and Jurassic Express action figures. Yeah. For sale, all featuring the mask. And so because of this, CFX is seeking profits from the use of the mask as well as attorney's fees. AEW, as of this recording, has not responded to the lawsuit. And honestly, they probably won't until sometime deep in February, given the time frame of these things usually take.
Well, and, once lawyers are involved, the news
everything
coming out
goes
to the public,
slow,
yeah, it goes really slow. So we're not going to know anything for a while,
as someone
probably.
who has watched copyright litigation for the last 20-ish years, don't be in a hurry. Is what I'm going to say. Just don't. Don't be in a hurry. It's not going to work out that way. It's not going to be quick. Just expect it to take possibly years with drips of information here and there. And the good news is, Haunt Weekly, we do a news episode every episode of Visible by 4. Therefore, ipso facto, we'll keep you abreast on this. So just stay tuned here.
Yeah, because it's in debate whether or not Jonathan will be attending the hearing in person if it's open to the public.
And they usually are, especially post-COVID, they are. Like, I know they shut the courts down for public viewing during COVID, but I think they're back open. And if they are, I think I wouldn't mind having a day on the East Bank. Yeah. I think that'd be kind of cool. I mean, as someone who's been an expert witness in copyright case, it is very familiar with how a trial works. I think I would rather enjoy being in the galley rather than in the witness stand.
Yeah.
Be a nice change of pace.
Exactly.
Do something a little different, mix it up some, you know? Yeah. So, yeah. Basically, that's the issue. Now, to understand this lawsuit, we're going to have to first do some Copyright 101. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to go too deep into this. I have a talk I did, Copyright and Trademark for Haunters. I did it at several haunt cons. I did it at other conferences too. And you can actually go watch live recordings of it on both Plagiarism Today and elsewhere too. I'm sure those recordings exist in more places.
Yeah, I have no idea, but I'm sure they do.
So feel free to check those out if you want. Oddly, though, I realized this as I went back through my notes. I didn't mention masks in the fucking talk.
Oh.
Because it wasn't one of the top issues at that time.
Well, yeah, but I'm sure it talked about copyrighted character.
We talked about characters and costumes, yeah. We didn't talk about...
So that includes masks.
We kind of brushed against it, but didn't really hit it nail on the head. So, regarding copyright, the first thing we have to get out of the way is that masks are protected under copyright. Mm-hmm. With caveats. Basically, copyright law forbids the protection of anything that is considered functional. Mm-hmm. And so, for example, this comes up a lot in fashion. If you have a shirt where you have an interesting cut and pattern on it, as long as it's not a printed pattern, we're talking like the style of the shirt.
Yeah. That's
considered functional. Other people can copy it easy peasy and use it just fine. But if you have an interesting print on the shirt, like you take a piece of artwork and put it on the shirt, the artwork isn't functional, so therefore that artwork can be protected. Masks are treated the same as like a 3D sculpture, basically, is what happens here. And yeah, you can't protect functional elements of it. Like, you can't copyright the idea of having 2 eye holes and 2 nose holes. That's just the shape of the human head, Karen.
2 ear holes.
2 ear, or 2 nose holes, or only holes.
Oh, nostril holes. Yeah.
Nostril holes, yeah.
Okay.
I'm thinking, I want to fucking breathe in this thing. Jesus Christ.
I don't know. I thought you had 2 noses all of a sudden.
Yeah, I think I want to fucking die in my silicone mask now.
No.
Now, bury me in it. That'd be funny. But
that would be. Okay. Ideas. Got it.
Got it. But don't kill me with it. No, but like, you know, having holes for the ears, the nose, the eyes, the mouth. You can't copyright that. You can't protect that because that's just the shape of the human head, Karen. That's how fucking heads work. Mm-hmm. So you can't protect that. You also can't protect anything where you're just copying a natural thing found in nature. Like if you literally just, you know, take your face and put it on a mask with no creativity, no alterations, that's not protectable. What's protectable is the creativity that goes into it, not the work. The creativity, that's an important distinction there. So anything that's like purely functional to the human form, moles, blobs, wrinkles, anything like that, you can't protect on their own, but you may be able to protect your specific pattern of those things if you can show there's a requisite level of creativity, and that requisite level is very, very low. Mm-hmm. All that said, the CFX mask is not human.
Right.
It is a reptile.
Yes.
And the scales, to my eye, admittedly, I don't know much about the production of this mask, or any mask that CFX does, but the scales look to be very individually, very strategically placed.
Yeah, and most of the masks that makers that I've watched, they sculpt it, and then they cast it.
Yeah.
You know, so that there's a mold. So it's the same every time they make a new one of that.
Yeah, and the sculpture is created.
But the first thing is a 3D sculpture.
Which is what we're protecting here, basically.
Yeah.
So, yeah, basically, it appears that, like, they were trying to, I'm trying to think of how to phrase this very carefully, to be reptile-like without directly copying any particular reptile.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
They were trying to incite the vision of a reptile without, and that's just my appearance. Like I said, I don't know anything about how they made this particular mask, but that's my interpretation. I don't know any reptile that looks specifically like that. That's what I'm saying. We could ask your cousin. Maybe she has some input here. She's the reptile expert we know. Nobody's better at killing them.
Mean.
Yeah, mean. That was cruel. Sorry. But anyways, the masks... But yeah, so basically, what it comes down to is, like I said, copyright is established on acts of human creativity. So you can't have an AI, write something. This has been a big deal lately.
Yeah, no kidding.
And one of the cases from copyright history was dealt with phone books. And it found that phone books do not enjoy copyright protection because they are factual information. You can't protect facts. Placed in alphabetical order, i.e. not creative.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't fucking matter how much work you did. It's a lot of work. It was a lot of work. I don't know anymore.
No.
Who even knows what a fucking phone book is?
Well, I mean, it's the same way with recipes. People talk about, oh, I hate reading all the backstory before the recipe. I just want the ingredients and stuff. Well, the ingredients and stuff and how you put it together
pure steps,
is not copyrightable. So that's why all that extra stuff at the beginning.
That's why they include images. That's why they include backstory. That's why they include flowery language. That's a big part of it, so that work is now protectable, at least in whole.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So that end, I feel pretty confident. I mean, they were granted a copyright registration, so the U.S. Copyright Office has already agreed it qualifies for protection.
Yeah.
That seems to be a dead issue here. So what rights does that give a creator? Mm-hmm. First is the right to reproduce and make copies of an original work. Copyright.
Yes.
The right to copy.
Mm-hmm.
Bingo, bango, bongo. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
All right, it's the right to prepare derivative works based upon the original work. So if you write an unauthorized sequel to what the fuck's popular today, Wednesday.
Yeah, sure.
To the Wednesday Netflix series or whatever. You can't do that. It's a derivative work. Now, excuse me. Fan fiction is not allowable by the law, but a lot of creators just kind of tolerate it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you write a new series about Wednesday Addams after the events of the TV series and try to sell it, I guarantee you your ass going to be shut down, even if you didn't copy anything directly from it.
Yeah.
You have the right to distribute copies to the public by sale or in another form of transfer, such as rental or lending. And you have the right to publicly display and perform the work. Those are the 4 key rights here. And basically, what appears to have happened is through its license page, CFX has granted a limited license to publicly display and perform the work. You're allowed to wear the mask in public, have paying customers come see you in said mask, and do things with it. But that right, according to their page, stops at the right to create merchandise.
Yeah, merchandising.
And and what that brings us around to is that in this case, AEW is accused of creating and selling tiny versions of this mask in 2 dimensions and 3 dimensions. Because you got like prints on the shirts, but also the matte versions of it on the action figures and whatnot.
Yeah.
So
that's huge. That's a huge allegation.
Yeah.
That they broke their contract.
Yeah, and like I said, if the allegations from CFX are true, once again, we haven't heard from AEW yet. I'm trying to be as diplomatic as I can to everyone involved because
we like everyone.
We like it literally. I feel like my parents are fighting.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, but so since they bought the rights to one of the masks but not to the other, does that show that they knew that it was possible?
It would seem to, yes. But once again, we don't know how they bought the rights to it. We don't know if it was just, here's a general contract for custom work in this situation, and they threw in that right. We don't know if it was something that they expressly agreed to or if it was just part of a package deal for the custom work. And that could actually mean something in terms of AEW's awareness of this lack of license. It could speak to that. Not that that's the major defense I can see AEW pulling out here.
No.
I think the first defense, and we actually will talk about a similar-ish case in a minute. The first defense is fair use. Now, I don't want to get too deep into what is and is not fair use. Because we will be here for fucking ever, and I want to go to sleep at some point.
Yeah, well, and, courts haven't really decided very often. Have they decided on any fair use cases?
Oh, yeah, they've decided on a lot of fair use cases, but they're sometimes just like... It's like reading religious texts. They're often contradictory. They're often confusing. And
it's basically up to which judge you get.
Yeah, and which judge or jury.
Yeah.
Because it could be a judge or a jury. And in fact, we're going to be talking about a case that went to a jury on this exact issue. But basically, fair use depends upon a variety of factors. The biggest are how transformative the use is and the potential harm to the market of the original work. And CFX obviously is arguing that it's our fucking mask. It's a mask. It's not super transformative. And they're obviously going to argue that they license merchandising rights to people. So obviously there's a potential harm to the marketplace.
Yeah.
That seems a weak argument, but fair use is wacky, unpredictable, and very, 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 very fact specific. Every case of fair use is basically its own roll of the dice. So I expect that argument to be made, and I expect AEW to have some compelling points. But it's literally like fair use is one of those things. The more you study it, the less you understand it.
Yeah,
it really is. And as someone that spent 20 years, in this area, whenever someone talks about, is this fair use?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know why I'm Scooby voicing.
Yeah, I don't know either.
But I don't know. I just don't know because everything is wrong. You know what I mean? It's just crazy. It's upside down land. It's inside out. It drives you crazy, man. You're going to lose your shit. So I expect that to come up and completely fuck my brain.
Yeah.
The other they could have is an interesting one known as de minimis. De minimis is basically a statement that the court does not bother itself with trifles. They can argue that yes, it was an infringement, but the infringement is so small, so insignificant, it's not worth the court's time.
Yeah.
They could argue that, we'll come back to that exact argument in just a minute, actually. And the third, they might argue, even though this one I think is dead in the water.
I think it's dead in the water because they bought we'll say what it is.
Okay, and that is the implied license.
Yeah.
An implied license is knucking futz, and it's why you get contracts in writing, kids.
Yes.
So you don't have to go down this path. Because here's the thing about implied license. Implied license basically means that the actions of the two parties involved, or whatever parties are involved, not just two, it could be like any number of parties, indicate that they intended this to be a licensed use. So if I write an article for your website and say, hey, I'd like to submit this to your website, and you put it on your site without getting an express permission or signing a contract from me, my actions in giving you that article and sending it to whatever link you have for taking in new articles gives an implied license to do so. And if I come around and say that's copyright infringement, hopefully the courts will smack the shit out of me for that.
Yeah.
That they should. But the thing about an implied license is it only works in absentia of a real license.
Yeah, exactly.
And as you pointed out, AEW did pay for that license once, just wrong mask. And they've had that license page on their site since at least 2018.
Yeah.
With pretty much the same language. Language got tweaked some, but it said the same key points, So I think the implied license argument is not a good one. Now, this does bring us to the closest case we have in recent history. In fact, very recent. It was last year. A tattoo artist sued WWE, the other big wrestling promotion, and Take-Two Interactive over 5 tattoos that artists had placed on performer Randy Orton.
Yes.
Jesus, Jonathan, I know you're an AEW fan, but you can at least say Randy Orton's name, right?
You could.
But yeah, that repurposed into the game. The jury found for the artist, and this had some major shakeups. And the shakeups were for reasons that don't really apply in this case. They were worried about what this meant for bodily autonomy because these were tattoos on his fucking body.
Yeah, these were not like made up tattoos. He paid the tattoo artist to put these tattoos on his body, and then whenever his body was recreated in digital format in the video game with the tattoos, the artist sued.
And a lot of people, I think very smart people, are arguing, well, isn't that just part of his image now? Isn't that part of his likeness? I mean, are we now copywriting his likeness? And yeah, okay, those are good fucking questions. I don't have answers for you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But no, the jury found in favor of the artist in this case, but they only awarded $3,750, which, okay, $3,750 is a lot of fucking money. I don't want anyone to get it twisted.
Yeah.
That is a lot of money. But in terms of a copyright infringement lawsuit, that is jack shit.
Well, and in terms of how much the video game made, too, it's not that much. Because it's not big money for WWE.
It's not big money for WWE or Take-Two. And unfortunately, it's not big money for the tattoo artist who probably spent 10 times that or more, significantly more, in legal fees.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's the quintessential Pyrrhic victory, basically.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. That case does not bode well for AEW in this.
Mm-hmm.
Because the use was smaller. We're talking about tattoos that were just happened to be there on a person.
Yeah.
Who, as you said, was digitized into the video game.
Yes.
Making it sound like some fun Tron shit they pulled. But yeah. But here's the thing. So yeah, the use was smaller than what AEW did. But the case was incredibly weird. Because we talked about 3 defenses there.
Mm-hmm.
Fair use, de minimis, implied license. I didn't pull those defenses out of my non-lawyer ass.
No.
Those were the 3 defenses raised in that case.
Mm-hmm.
The judge only allowed the fair use defense to be heard. There was no discussion of de minimis or implied license, even though both parties in the case wanted there to be.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the judge just wanted to get this shit done. I mean, I don't know what that was about. Streamline that case really fucking fast, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, we did not actually get a ruling on those 2 things. But given that AEW's use is far more commercial, far bigger, and far more prominently a part of Luchasaurus's character and image, yeah, it doesn't bode well. And CFX has a clear license on their site. Now, we can sit here and argue how valid a license is just sitting there in the footer of a webpage. And I've never bought a mask from CFX, so I don't know if you have to agree to license for the checkout process. I suspect you do. I'd be shocked if they don't. That would be a hell of a fumble there.
Yeah, and we've, started looking at some of these other mask maker companies, and some of them don't have a license.
Most of them don't. I think CFX is the only one I found a license on. But they have a clear license. So that kind of kills the implied license argument, too. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it does not bode well for AEW here. So, because of that, my likely outcome of this case is a settlement. Mm-hmm. I don't think I'm going to be sitting in the gallery for this case, because I don't think there's going to be a gallery to sit in.
Well, and most of the time, lawyers do not want to get into a courtroom.
Nope.
Like, they will try to do settlements.
Good lawyers will do everything they can to keep you out of the courtroom.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing people don't realize. If a case goes to trial, a civil case, that means at least one of the parties is being wholly unreasonable.
Yeah.
It could be both of them, but at least one. Mm-hmm. And so you just don't want to be on the side that's being fucking unreasonable.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's likely heading to a settlement. I would be surprised if anything else came of this. I would be shocked, honestly, just because I think this is too much potential damages, too much risk for both sides, honestly, to let this go to a trial. I would be very shocked. So, yeah, we probably won't get a lot of answers here. But this does raise questions for the haunted attraction industry. And the big one that everyone's, I'm sure, going to be asking me at Transworld, and I'm not going to have good fucking answers for because it's complicated, is what rights does a haunt have over the masks it buys and the characters it creates from those masks? And this is something we're talking about here. Because we've ordered a new Bernie Baxter mask.
We have.
From one of the major mask manufacturers. It's supposed to be here in March, and we're going to have a whole long talk about that.
Later.
Yeah, that's a later thing. That's much later now. But, yeah. What rights do you have? And the answer is that gets unclear very, very quickly. Mm-hmm. And it's very, very fact specific. It depends specifically on how you use it, what you do with it, what the mask is. Mm-hmm. Because, like, some masks will be more protectable than others just because of the nature of, protectable versus unprotectable elements. But here's the thing. Like I said, I took a tour of a lot of sites.
Yeah.
And run up to this. CFX was the only one that actually had a clear license. Mm-hmm. And, look, you can agree or disagree with CFX's licenses and the boundaries they draw. That's fine. I don't care. At least they fucking have one.
Yeah, because now it puts in all the ones that don't have something out there, it puts it into question, what are your actual rights?
Like, a good example is we're going to reshoot all the Bernie images.
Yeah.
We're going to probably spend a whole day doing this.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a while. But so we're going to reshoot all the Bernie images, and Bernie, the new Bernie, is going to be on flyers. It's going to be on the website. It's going to be
banners.
It's going to be in a lot of places, and I don't think that would be objectionable, especially for a free home hunt, since we're not like merchandising this.
Yeah.
That we're losing money. I don't really think we're going to be in any trouble with this. But yeah, I'm going to speak with, we're going to Transworld. This is my opportunity to talk directly to the Shattered FX people and get some clarity.
Yeah.
So what were we about to say?
Yeah, but I mean, if you are a hunt and you have some mask and you're putting, those unique characters forward on your merchandising and everything.
Or even just in your promotional material.
Yeah.
In some cases.
We don't know if you can do that right now.
Yeah, right now that is a little bit up in the air. Now, I think judging from the history, this case with AEW is kind of an exceptional case.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's pretty clear because what AEW did really does go beyond the pale of what any haunted attraction does with a mask.
Yeah.
Like, they got the mask. They not only have him on national TV, possibly a couple times per week. They got him on T-shirts. They got him on fucking masks. They got him everywhere. Action figures with little versions of the mask.
Mm-hmm.
They got that shit everywhere and on a massive scale that I don't think any haunted attraction reaches.
Well, and I don't know that any of the mask makers who don't have the licenses ever thought their mask could get that big.
Yeah. Yeah, and honestly, can you blame them? Because I think this is the only way a mask like this can get that big.
Yeah.
Because, outside of, like, professional wrestling or... Okay, what other big popular thing is there people wear masks for routinely? They might be commercialized. Like, I guess, like, telenovelas or something, and...
No, I don't know.
Because I was just thinking, like, we watched those... Riff Tracks / MST3K films with, I'm trying to remember his name, Santos, and and his mask was so iconic.
Well, and also that show that Ellie just watched, the one with the pinata.
Oh God, yeah, I forgot about that. The pinata makers thing.
Yeah,
that was weird.
Thing. It was.
It was fun, but it was weird.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. But all of this is a reminder of a simple fact that you need to understand as a haunter. Owning a copy of the mask does not mean you own the copyright to that mask.
Right. So if you're ordering a custom mask and working with a mask maker, make sure you get your licensing in writing.
Yeah.
Like get clear guidelines to what you can and cannot do with it.
And if you need more rights, negotiate those rights in advance.
Yeah.
Ideally before you cut the check.
Exactly. And honestly, I would do it before I start talking to them about the design for the mask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did not think about this when we ordered the Bernie mask, and I feel a bit ashamed about that. But it was because this type of litigation just hasn't really happened.
No.
Masks, and the thing about it is this, you've got to understand, I have been involved with copyright for 20-ish years now, over 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
This is only the second time I think masks have come up in my space, in any kind of big way. The last time we talked about the Copyright Claims Board, how someone was filing a case against Spirit over a mask that Spirit sold in stores that he allegedly created originally. And apparently that case was settled out of court, and we're not going to get any rulings on that. So don't hold your breath on that one. But yeah, masks just are a blind spot, and that includes me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm really glad that all this came up a week before HauntCon. I mean, Transworld. Jesus Christ. I've called it HauntCon more times than I care to think, just because usually when I go to a haunted attraction convention, it's HauntCon.
And it's in January.
And it's the wrong
end of January, beginning of February.
Yeah, it's the wrong time of year for Transworld too. My brain isn't quite corrected for the time shift.
Memories have of going to HauntCon in January.
Yeah.
A few years
But anyways,
ago.
I'm glad it's happening right before Transworld because I now know something I'm going to do on the trade show floor.
Yeah.
And I will report back on this podcast what I hear. I may not report on like every individual mask maker.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be a lot in there.
Yeah.
But I'm going to get like the vibe. I'm going to read the room and see what the vibe is.
Okay. Yeah. And I've actually, that's a good idea. So it could be a good follow-up for PT too.
Yeah. I'm going to go out there and actually, like I said, talk to people. Because, and the thing is, like, I could email these people and get the responses in writing. But I kind of want to see like how people react when asked about it too, because I have a feeling a lot of them haven't been asked this before and aren't going to have well thought out planned answers. I think it's going to be interesting. So because this is something, like I said, it's been a blind spot for me, and I mean I've written at least half a dozen articles on copyright in knitting and crochet patterns, but masks never came up.
No.
So. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm really looking forward to getting some more details and some feedback from all the vendors at Transworld. I think it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, I do too.
Well, I think that's all we have right now on this. I think we're going to be talking about this more as time goes on. But yeah, for right now, that gives you your basics of what's going on and what it could mean for the haunted attraction. I think that's a pretty good place to leave it.
Yeah, I do too.
So on that note, everyone, thank you very much for spending the past hour with us. By the time you hear this, we'll be on the road to Transworld. So please, if you are going, let us know. Stop by the Contra Media booth to see Crystal. Catch me wherever the fuck I'm roaming.
Yeah.
I'm like that Metallica song.
Just remember that to approach on the left side.
Yeah, approach on the side I can actually hear you on.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of people from like other conferences like, he's just an asshole. I called his name like 5 times and he never turned around. Yeah. Are you on this side? Are you on the right side, dude?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, and there's your problem.
Yeah.
I'm very, very damn near deaf on that side these days. So please, though, do come up and catch me. Love to see you, love to chat with you, and I'm looking forward to learning more about this specific issue there.
Yeah.
In the meantime, follow us, get updates on this, hauntweekly.com, hauntweekly on Twitter, hauntweekly on Facebook, youtube.com/hauntweekly. That is where every episode is available for easy listening. It's not easy listening, but it's easy to listen.
Yes.
You can also catch us wherever podcasts are distributed. We are everywhere, man. So until next time, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Crystal.
And we will see some of you next week at HauntCon, and the rest of you
at Transworld.
You
did it again!
Son of a cock!
They're gonna like not let us in the door.
No,
now.
we're fucking banned now. I'm pretty sure that's the limit. Oh, he did it 10 times. Gotta ban him.
Yep.
I don't blame you. I would not blame Transworld if they did. But we'll see some of you in Transworld, and the rest of you will be here next week doing the podcast as usual. See you then.